Okay, I'm going to try and keep an eye on the waiting room here, but I think we're going to get started, everybody. So thanks again. It looks like got another person there logging in. Can everybody see the screen share? Is that coming up all right? Yep. Okay, it looks like no one else in the waiting room right now. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us this evening. We did one of these back in October and in December, and once again, trying to provide as much information as we can for all the club contacts that are joining us, whether it's managers, coaches, might even be a couple of parents out there that have logged in as well. So it's very encouraging to see everybody. It's a good turnout considering the uncertainty of everything that still exists regarding the club volleyball season. There still is unfortunately uncertainty with a few things as we move forward here. I have text here. I sent out the email, so everyone should have the agenda. Those are the basic topics we're covering. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't address any questions outside of that if people might have. Hopefully we won't get off on too many tangents. We do have till 8 o'clock. We're going to try and coordinate this so that we get through it within an hour and we won't take up too much of your time, but hopefully we'll be as informative as possible. We'll present as best we can, as much as we can, as much as we know, but unfortunately, like I said, we don't have all the answers regarding the club season at current time, but we'll provide the information as much as we know right now. As we have in the past, just some protocols. I am going to be muting her. If you can make sure your mics are muted, just helps with the background. So just on the bottom of your screen, you should have a mute button.
What's Mum doing?
And I will.
Well, I'm on a call right now.
I'm going to try and mute everybody because
Ask Mum to help you.
There. Mute all. Yes. There we go. I'll go back to screen share. So again, like I said, we'll go through the agenda. We'll go through all the topics that we have outlined there. If you see on the side of your screen, you can pull up a chat box. If you do have questions, you can type in that. And if you really do want to raise your hand and you can, if it's easier for you to explain your question or to present your question, feel free to speak as well. That's not a problem. Just maybe raise your hand before you cut in. But ideally, we can use the chat. Anthony's going to follow along on the chat screen there just to make sure we don't miss anything. And then again, like I said, if your button does happen to come unmuted, if you can, just to help with the sound, just make sure your microphone is muted. The agenda is outlined there. First topic that we're going to cover is just a little bit of an update on return to play. So I think probably most of everybody has seen the announcements yesterday. There was some hints at announcements last week about the loosening of restrictions. As you all probably know, the province is taking a very slow and cautious approach to this, to the loosening of restrictions. There was a few things that were updated and changed yesterday as it related to this. One of them is that we still remain throughout the province in the code red critical response, pandemic response level, and that's throughout the province. Although some regions or some communities might have limited or maybe even no active cases, unfortunately, the entire province is in the same level. So we will be approaching volleyball activity accordingly. Within the announcements yesterday, they talked about a few things like restaurants, and they talked about various other things. Got another person waiting, sorry. They did also talk about some sport, and one of the things was that one of the announcements especially took us a little bit by surprise, took Sport Manitoba surprise. We had a meeting, a little bit of a ad hoc meeting yesterday afternoon. Sport Manitoba attempt to answer our questions. There was a few more that they were taking back just for clarity, for clarification. So even though it was presented yesterday, seems to have allowed a little bit more activity, especially as it relates to indoor. There still is a few questions that we're going to need answered, and then that's more specifically around the indoor side of things. So yesterday's announcement did outline that organized outdoor sport activities are now allowed. Before it was just informal activity that was being allowed within your cohorts or with distancing, outdoor rinks, sledding hills, and things like that. Now it's actual organized activity, training. Some even games are even possible at this point in time, starting Friday. The other thing that they added, which was a little bit of a surprise to us, was the indoor one-on-one indoor instruction that is now allowed. And we tried to get a little bit of an understanding on that, and it is related to indoor facilities, not only fitness centers and other athletic type facilities like judo and those type of studios, but it is also include gymnasiums, from what we understand, from what Sport Manitoba understands. The one-on-one instruction is very limiting. It's very limiting for a team sport. So it's not obviously ideal, but at least it's something that we didn't expect. And that's the one area that we're going to get a little bit more clarification before we publicize anything in terms of our return to play plans as we move forward. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of a better idea on what the health orders. We were waiting and hoping that the new health orders wording would actually be posted online, but it's not online yet. So we want to take a look at that. Even when it is posted, we'll probably have a few questions that will go back to Sport Manitoba, who's in close contact with the province, and they'd be able to get some clarifications pretty quick. But the one-on-one indoor instruction is also does also operate at the 25% capacity. So it's not like you can have a gym full of one-on-one instruction. It's also related to the capacity of the facility and what we deem safe with our return to play protocols as well. Scott might allude to a little bit about what we're considering right now, but that's just something that to keep in mind right now. We understand that this is also going to be in place for 3 more weeks, so that it'll be in effect as of Friday, and it will continue through till March 5th. And that week of March 5th will be the next week where they possibly could look at another level of reopening. One of the things we also want to stress is that this is still this is all tentative as well. It's not like this is in place for sure and ongoing. It could, it could very quickly revert back to another level. As you may have heard today, there is a new variant, the new foreign COVID variant that's now been identified in Manitoba, and they know that that's a lot more contagious and it spreads a lot easier, and it could have effect on the future reopenings. So it could possibly stop us in our tracks quickly. We hope that it doesn't, but that's just something that we all need to keep in mind. Anthony, I'm going to just pass it over to you now, just to talk a little bit more about season and competition planning.
Sure. Well, obviously all of this is tentative on things potentially going forward at the next reopening, but here I go. So as we've been saying, and as I'm sure you've been telling your coaches and players and everything else, obviously this year is going to look different, and the expectations should reflect that. What everything ends up looking like will depend on when we can return to the court for actual team training, further than just the potential one-on-one stuff that may be available here now. So tentatively, March 5th would be the earliest the teams may resume training indoors. Again, that is, who knows, right? But that is the next potential time. There may be an opportunity sometime in April and May for some sort of competition. I would expect that we would start very low level, just like one game against one other team sort of thing. But obviously it's very difficult to speculate that far in advance. That is kind of the time where we had our provincial championship dates set. So we have quite a bit of gym time then. That's kind of when we would be targeting that. That's why we would be targeting those dates. Following that, again, tentatively, we'll be looking at hosting provincials sometime in May or June, depending on what VC comes back with for nationals. And regarding nationals in particular, they're still planning on hosting them. Right now, their projected dates anytime from mid to late summer, and that could potentially mean into August. We don't really have a great sense yet of when they plan to make that decision, but obviously we're hoping it's sooner rather than later. I don't know how much more I have to go here, John. Do we have the next slide as mine as well, or? I guess this would be actually a good time to stop and see if anyone does have any questions on this in particular, whether you just want to shout out or whether you want to put it in the chat quickly. And then
sorry, I just have to quiet the dog there from barking, Anthony. But you might have mentioned the facilities, and I see in the chat that you commented to Tonya about Sport Manitoba not opening up till March.
Yeah.
This is a pretty quick announcement that was made, so I don't know how many facilities will actually be opening on Friday, let alone over the weekend or into next week. Some might, many might still be waiting until they understand what business, that might still be might be waiting to continue their bookings and whatnot. But that's something we just don't know right now. For the most part, we've reached out to Dakota. They're kind of gauging their bookings and their partners right now. Sport Manitoba, like we said, not until March, right? And we don't know about others. So I don't know if others have reached out to the Souls, the community centers, the Providence colleges, the BUs, those type of facilities that are also being considered for indoor training.
Thanks, John.
Any other questions? Oops.
All right, let's
you go to that one then, Anthony. You got this one?
Sure. I am planning on opening the online registration tomorrow, so teams can formally register and get their memberships purchased for if they are planning on starting, whether it's potentially one-on-ones, whether it might be some outdoor activity. Getting registered in the system is going to be your first step going forward. We also mentioned the club information / registration forms. Those are I want to say paper forms, but really it's an online fillable PDF at this point. That is the other component that clubs will have to complete before they are able to participate. You will have to do both. Right now, the club info forms will go to Adam, and the online registration it's online, but I'm the one who gets the notifications on that. If you begin training or resuming activity, we would also like to be informed of what you're planning, just so we have a good idea of who is starting and what it is you're doing, and it helps give us a better sense of maybe what things will look like a little bit further ahead, and just kind of having an idea of how many teams we may end up having. So we would appreciate it if you could do that.
Yeah, and the primary reason for the registration is insurance. So we just want to make sure if you're back on the court at Dakota, or if you're even doing some outdoor training with your team or gatherings or whatever it might be, it's primarily just for the liability insurance. And the other the other thing for us is just we do want the clubs, and it's also a reason why we might want to know a little bit more about your plans. Is we do want the clubs to follow the protocols. It's very, very important for our sport and for obviously just the health of the whole community. But there's lots involved with the return to play protocols, and we want you following them, whether it's indoor or outdoor. There is even possibilities, and that's why we kind of want an idea on some of the plans, what your plans are. So there is a chance we might just pop by. It's not to to try and catch you on anything, but it's really just as a spot audit, just to see how clubs are doing with their training, with the protocols, to see if there's any challenges, and also just to touch base. that is a possibility that we're considering. Scott, do you want to take it from safe return to court discussion here?
Yeah, this is just a document here from Volleyball Canada. So, when we do return to the court, there's certain activities that'll be lower risk and higher risk, and just take it upon yourselves, as club directors and coaches or managers to educate yourself. Really familiarize yourself with the provincial materials, Volleyball Canada materials. There's lots of good resources out there. And just do best you can to ensure a safe return. We're not going to read all of these things here. I've written a bunch of them many times, but this is part of our new reality if we're going to get back to the court. And the next one I think had and a couple other things to consider. So I think the top point there, athlete safety must be the top priority. We could add coach in there too, right? Athlete and coach safety must be the top priority. So, when we do get back on the court, if it is one-on-one training, make sure that we take different things into consideration. If it is one-on-one, I know we all want to kind of get back out there and run through with as many athletes as we can. But the longer you're in the gym, the more risk that you're going to take on, and the more risk your athletes are going to take on. So just educate yourself before we jump back into it. Again, one other point we do have on the bottom there, no unlimited spectators. For those of you that have been following along with the responsible coaching movement, the one-on-one training doesn't lend itself very well to the rule of two. So we do need to make sure that athlete safety is being adhered to. So that'll be part of our conversations with Sport Manitoba when we try to figure out what exactly the capacity will be. But we have to make sure that we don't sacrifice that, both for the athlete and the coach, that you put yourself in a situation where you are one-on-one in a facility without another adult present.
And I'm just going to touch base, Scott, on just a couple of them. One of them is the electronic whistle. So we do have some in the office, and it's, we are looking at the possibility and trying to figure out how we can best get them out to clubs that are interested. So stay tuned on that. It's just, instead of blowing a whistle, which isn't safe, there gets distributed. We just, they're, I don't know if anybody has seen them. It's just a little handheld, and it sounds like a whistle. So if coaches want those, we can, we'll be reaching out and trying to get those into hands. We just didn't expect the possibility that this might happen earlier than a few weeks from now. And then Scott, maybe just allude to the one difference that we're looking at from previous return to plays is the masks on the court, right? So that will be one thing that we are looking at implementing right away, and that's not just for coaches, that will be for all participants, just to try and provide that one extra layer of protection, risk reduction as possible.
Yeah, and there was just one question in the chat there about if there was one parent spectating during one-on-one trading, would that satisfy the rule of two? Yeah, it would. It would count towards your, the facility capacity numbers, and so there's other things that would have to be taken into consideration. But yeah, that would count. It would not count if you had, if the capacity limits allow. So if it is 1-to-1 coach to athlete ratio, it will have to be a coach. So we can't have, one coach and one parent with two athletes. It would have to be two properly certified coaches.
Masks required while training. Yes, that is the plan right now, Chris. Not all provinces, but several of the provinces are going in that direction, and at least at first we'll be moving in that direction as well. One of the things that is also important with the return to play protocols, there's a couple things here. One of them is tracking. It's not as important when you're just doing one-on-one training. You kind of know who's there. But another part is daily declarations, daily health declarations. So it is, again, just another risk management level. As you start planning your training sessions, basically what it involves is for those people that did any activity maybe in the summer or in the fall, it was a piece of paper. Everybody filled out a declaration at every session that they attended. It resulted in a lot of paper. I know we went through mounds of paper over the summer, and those that might have run camps under these protocols throughout the summer or fall went through mounds of paper as well. So we're trying to set this up a little bit more efficiently. And one of the ways we're doing it, there's two programs out there. They're very similar. One of them is Team Snap. Many of you might already use that for organizational purposes with your club or your teams. There's a couple of different things that this Team Snap provides. One of them is obviously an attendance tracking record. And another thing is a health declaration. So I'm going to slide this over to Adam, and going to see if he can share his screen and just run through a couple of videos here that kind of show how this works.
You bet. Yeah. Thanks, John. So yeah, like John was saying, just we're looking for an efficient option, an alternative. I see Jared's comment in the chat there, and that's exactly how we feel. We probably needed to plant triple the amount of trees there to make up for things like our beach daily declarations and things. So we've looked for a more efficient option. And one example that we have taken a look at is doing through Team Snap. So I'm just going to take you through a really quick video here. It's about 25 seconds of how Team Snap would work for a daily declaration. So right here is your Team Snap screen. Those of you who are familiar, you'll recognize this. It has an event in there. Right now, it's our town hall example event. So what it's going to look like is you're going to find your event for the day. You're going to take a click on that event. You're going to scroll down. Now you see the top option on the page there is My Health Check. Right now, it's listed as incomplete, as I'm going to complete it for our group right away here in the video. So you're going to go ahead and select that, and you're going to have this health check screen pop up. It's going to have the date that your event is happening on, and it's going to have a series of questions populate. Now, these questions are customizable by each individual team owner. However, we would probably want to recommend you're using questions very similar to the ones here, just so we're covering the correct items that are a part and necessary for a daily declaration. So we'll scroll through here. Participants are going to be asked to answer each of these questions accurately. And a lot of these, as you can see, I can pause it here. In the past 14 days, have you experienced any of these symptoms? These are all questions that I'm sure we're very familiar with hearing over these past while. So it's just going to ask those questions. Once you're completed, you're able to save your declaration, and it's going to populate a screen that looks like this. I answered all of my questions showing that I am healthy and safe. So Team Snap is going to recognize that and populate a health check clearance for me. My team administrator or manager is going to get a notification as well, noting that I have completed my health check and that I am cleared. Let's say I answered a question where maybe I wasn't healthy. It would populate a red screen, and it would ask me to please not attend practice or whatever event was scheduled for that day. That same response will also go to the manager, and they will be notified that you should not be participating in that event due to you've answered a question that kind of proves that you are not healthy to be participating. So that's just one option there through Team Snap. We think it's a pretty good option, and it sounds like most clubs are familiar with Team Snap as well. So feel free to explore that if you're curious about it.
Adam, is that the only video you're running through there?
Yeah, I have a couple more videos, but we'll probably just populate those on our website for people to refer to if they're looking at other options. It's just general information about what your check would look like from an administrative standpoint and things like that. But we can post those on our website if you're curious about it. You can view that on your own time.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm just looking in the chat there too. Pat, can you give a little bit of an idea, or you mentioned QR codes. Quickly how that worked?
Sure. We obviously I haven't been practicing with that, but what we were doing even with our high school teams in fall at the beginning, and we've been using with some of our classes, is we have a QR code that they take a picture of, or we can send it to them via email, and they click on the QR code, and it takes them to a Google form, and then they answer the same questions on Google Forms, and then it creates their answers in Google Docs or Google Sheets, so that we have a time-stamped record of when they answered the questions and what they answered, and then we just check them, go back through them just to see how the kids answered. So it's been working well for us too. It's not, you don't get quite the feedback that Adam was talking about, but it is there.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. This next topic's one that we've actually been talking about for a couple of years in the office, just about opportunities. Although days like and weeks like this past one and the next few days moving forward aren't really encouraging when you think about spending too much time outside. But honestly, it is really a possible opportunity that we might be exploring, and we would be encouraging clubs to explore, to get kids out and playing and touching the ball and getting some rallies in. So I'm going to hand it over to Anthony here to talk a little bit about snow volleyball.
Sure. Do we want to roll the video first?
You want to do the video? Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, let's do the video first to give people an idea just of what it is, and if they're not familiar, and then I can do my spiel.
Okay, sorry, I got more people in the waiting room.
Can't hear it, John.
Sorry.
Okay, the sound probably won't come through.
That worked on our test call earlier.
Is this you or is this me playing it?
It's not me.
Oh, okay. Let me. And Adam, we're sharing. You're sharing the screen right now. Adam, are you there?
Yeah, that's all right. We want to watch the video here.
Yeah, I'm gonna play on mine just to see if the volume works. Okay.
Good coordination, guys.
Okay, there's people in the waiting room too, so I get distracted very easily. Wrong one. There we go. Are you seeing my screen here?
Yeah, it's up now. It's loading.
Trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This sounds backwards, right? Well, believe it or not, it's actually true.
How do I skip an
Stop
ad
spending
here?
hours on the elliptical to get in shape.
You got to click skip
Running on
ad.
treadmill 5 or even.
Although I do want to learn how to lose my belly fat.
There we go. Can you hear the volume?
Snow volleyball,
Yep.
the fresh new winter sport sweeping across the mountains. It continues to generate interest worldwide as a cool and exciting form of volleyball. Although its origins are likely Russian, modern snow volleyball began in 2008 in the mountains of Bahrain, Austria, and the sport has continued to grow, recently being adopted by the FIVB and CVB in 2017. Snow volleyball is played on a court that is 16 meters long by 8 meters wide, the same size as a beach volleyball court, but smaller than an indoor volleyball court. The net is 2.43 meters tall for men and 2.24 meters tall for women. There are 3 players per side with 1 player on the bench. A team can substitute players with the player on the bench twice per set. A snow volleyball match is best 2 out of 3 sets to 15 points in a rally point format, with teams switching sides every 5 points so that there is no advantage given to one side. The snow can make it much harder to move. Each type of snow presents its own challenges. Players must adapt their strategies based on the conditions of the day. The rules are the same as beach volleyball, with one exception. A block does not count as a touch. Players wear football shoes with cleats at the bottom to move in the snow. Some players also wear gloves to keep warm and better grip the ball. The ball is similar to the ball used for beach, but has more grip and is waterproof. This allows the ball to be controlled better by the players in difficult weather conditions. Snow volleyball is often played with some breathtaking views. Some iconic venues include the Backhain Mountains in Austria, the Kronplatz Mountains in Italy, Bucuriani in Georgia, and Mount Erciyes in Turkey. Snow volleyball demonstrates the fun, passion, and universality of the sport of volleyball, which is now accessible all year round, from summer to winter, from beaches to mountains, from indoors to outdoors. Volleyball is an option for anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Hockey is back. With Save On Foods $1 Million Score and Win. Shop Save On Foods today.
And we're back.
All right.
So obviously that video was a little choppy there, so maybe not the greatest option for us. But if anyone's interested, we can send you the link if you want to take a closer look, and we have a few other videos that might help shed a little bit more light on it. But basically, we're looking at a number of options for offering some snow volleyball opportunities in Winnipeg, and we're hoping to work with any other communities outside of the city here that may be interested. So reach out to us if you maybe want to get something going. It could be as simple as us setting up some courts and allowing open use, or depending on demand, we might host some courts that we maintain a little bit, and we might have to schedule groups into. So right now we're just looking at the weekends, just due to daylight constraints and everything else. And at the earliest, we'd be starting on February 20th, 21st, just because that's kind of when the cold snap is supposed to start to taper off. So if you are interested in booking a time, or just for more information, you can shoot me an email there at my email address, and we can discuss a little bit more.
Yeah, just so for reference, there might be some facilities out that still have nets up, probably not many, but we have portable net systems that we're going to be sampling and testing, and we're still considering a few different options for sites in Winnipeg. But if there's a location out in Brandon or Verdun or wherever it might be, Steinbach or Winkler or Pat, I don't know if you'd even consider using your courts out there, but basically there is also the possibility of a portable net system. So we have about 10 or 12 of them in our office that we could try and get out to communities or to clubs that might want to set them up and use them on a temporary basis, or we might, like Anthony said, set up a few and just have them set up on weekends for clubs to book times. And really, if there might be demand, we might even just try and see if we might be able to do something over a couple of weekends of sort of sign up, try it type of thing. So looking at a few options like Anthony said.
Maybe we should stop here and see if anyone has any questions on anything before we get into this extra stuff. Anybody? Anything? I'm going to give you about 10 seconds here, and then we'll keep rolling.
Hey, Anthony, it's Tim.
Hey, Tim.
Would there be specific COVID protocols for snow volleyball as well?
Yeah.
Like the mask wearing and all that? Could you elaborate, please?
Sorry?
Just wondering was there anything specific or different with this outdoors?
Scott, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the mask use may not be, we'd have to get further information on that to confirm, but generally speaking, it may not be required. It depends on the proximity, because if you're, running outside with a group of friends, then mask use is recommended. So it kind of depends on the structure of the activity and not necessarily whether it's inside or outside. But yeah, there are a few other things that we'd have to consider. Outdoor gathering limits, then the same protocols would need to be in place. We would have to demonstrate that we could safely deliver the activity if we were going to do it in an organized way. If 5 people from the same family, we're going to take a net and go out and hack around, and you're in the same family unit, then obviously the requirements are a little bit less. But for any type of formalized programming, yeah, we would have to follow the protocols.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Anthony answered a question there in the chat. There's actually a snow volleyball. I know Bandits have purchased a few for their own. We have a dozen in the office that we could, loan out to clubs or whatever it might be. If there's demand, we might need to order more and then get a few more out in the community. It's very similar to a beach volleyball though. Although it's like it said in the video, it's a little bit more tackier just for if you're wearing gloves type of thing. So
it's waterproof. I wouldn't use a beach volleyball out in the snow.
Okay.
You're gonna wreck it. Yeah.
There you go. And it's waterproof. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I would say too is it mentioned that they play 3s in the video, but for our purposes, 4s would obviously certainly be fine. Because it is only a 16-by-8 court, I don't think we would recommend playing 6s at this point, even just training and stuff. I think we would still go with only 4 on each side of the net, but a lot of those different things we still have to discuss kind of among the staff, and that will be included in the next RTP when we do produce it.
And I'm not sure, Nancy, which club you're from, but if you want to know if you want to buy some yourself as well, just let us know and we can. We basically just bought them directly through Cat Sports, which is a Macassa, Canada dealership. That has the Macassa, Canada rights. So I don't know of other companies that might sell them, but we can try and connect you there.
That's Court, John. That's Court Rada.
Well, that's Court. Well, Court is Nancy. Yeah. Chris, is there a snow net system? No, it's just we just have regular outdoor net systems. That's what we would look at using. Yeah.
And that's all FIVB uses right now too. It's just regular outdoor systems.
Scott, I'm going to pass this over to you next. Talk a little bit about NEP identification.
The Women's National Excellence Program, it ran last fall successfully in Richmond. So if you go to volleyball.ca, you are able to see the outline of the program right there. John's got it called up. So the way that it's online, so you can do a virtual submission this year through the links on the webpage. They are planning to run it again from September to December 2021. So I believe there's a small cost. I think it's listed on there, $45 or $50 or something to upload your video. It'll be seen by the NEP selection panel, and they'll go from there.
Yeah. And the athletes they're targeting, again, maybe do you want to just do a quick outline of what the NEP is and a little bit about the background there?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different than the men's program. The women's program is targeted to younger athletes. So you can see here it says grade 9 to 11. In this particular year, the reason it's grade 9 to 11 this year is they with the program that they started last year, they do have some players who are eligible to return for their grade 12 season that would already be considered members of the NEP should they choose to return. So it's kind of like a sort of like a 2-year cycle where they'll graduate players out every year, and it's meant to to kind of build some foundational skills of players who may be identified in the youth program, potentially the junior program, and those that show potential for future national team involvement. It's a really holistic program. The athletes live with host families in Richmond, and they basically, embark on a full-time training environment. Focuses on, building some basic skills and foundation of strength. Whether or not match play happens this year, I'm not sure. It didn't last year. It was just strictly training because of the COVID protocols. But yeah, it was a really well-received program, and it went off really well last year. So if you have any interested athletes, they just submit their applications on their own.
And we'll be promoting this in an upcoming newsletter as well. So individual athletes will have the information. But if you have athletes that you think could fit this this criteria, by all means, share it with them as well. Yeah,
and currently on the men's side, there are the NEP plans for the men have yet to be finalized. So it's unknown at this time if it'll be a program similar to what was delivered this year, or if it takes a different format. But it is on the horizon for 2021 as well.
Sport Lomo, Anthony, you want to just touch on that one really high level?
Yeah, for sure. There's really not much to say at this point, but we are getting a new registration system. The plan is for it to be in effect for this upcoming fall, so this upcoming season. We went through a very extensive process to pick these guys, and we're excited to be working with them. It looks like it's going to be a really good system. So there's not really too much to go over at this point, but yeah, I just wanted to make everyone aware that we will be getting a new one going forward here.
Grant, I'm going to get you to speak a little bit about your coaching summit, February 27th.
Thanks, John. Yeah, we obviously have certainly missed being on the court and working with our athletes and doing our annual coaches summit out here, where we get to network with everybody and check in how everybody's season's going, etc. So we've decided to go with a virtual coaching summit to try to crush those needs that people have. There obviously haven't been a ton of opportunities for professional development for volleyball this year because of everything. And so we thought this would hopefully fill that void. So it's going to take place on Saturday, February 27th. And we have some terrific speakers lined up. Olivier Trudel, who's the women's coach out at the University of Montreal, who has his PhD with a focus in sports psychology. So he's going to talk about sports psychology. We have Ron Thompson from Alberta, spent a lot of years coaching at Grand Prairie College and club system, provincial teams, etc. in Alberta. And he's going to talk about planning practices for a season. We have Paul Thompson, who's our strength coach here at Brown University and works through Outperform strength training here in town. We have Dr. Scott Forbes, who's a member of our phys ed department and has his background in nutrition and is going to talk about nutrition, sleeping, taking care of your body. We have Dr. Kerry McDonald, former UBC men's head coach, now with Volleyball Canada. And he's going to talk about using stats with coaching. And then we have our BU coaches, myself. I'll be presenting on building a program. We have Lee Carter, our women's coach, who's going to be talking about using video to improve your team. And then Lee's assistant coach, Ashley Hosfeld, is going to talk about how to get your athletes recruited during a pandemic. And then both after all the morning sessions and then after the afternoon sessions, we're essentially going to have a little hot stove time where just people can message in or verbally ask questions on any of the topics that were presented or any other potential topics that they would like to ask questions or talk about. And whoever registers will get access to recordings to all the sessions. So we think it's going to be a really good day, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of you out that day.
And if, for example, Grant, if a coach can't attend all sessions, are they able to kind of pop in and out throughout the day? Is that an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, even if somebody couldn't attend that day at all, if they still paid the registration fee, they would get the recordings for all the sessions as if they were sitting there. Obviously, it's good if you can be there and be a part of the hot stove and ask questions while it's live, but people are certainly welcome to register and get access to the recordings if they can't be there live.
Thanks, Grant. We will be, you can access the registration and all the information, presentation information, all through the BU website. We will be sharing it. We have shared it on social media. We will be sharing it in an upcoming newsletter, in our next newsletter in the next day or so, or early next week, and we'll get it on our website front page as well. So for those that are looking for that info, quick link, we'll make sure you get that in your hands and share it with all your coaches within your club as well. Adam, I'm just going to pull up the Quick 5 document quickly here, and you want to just touch on that really quickly?
Absolutely. This is a promotion that Volleyball Canada, specifically the women's national team, is putting together. They've been doing it in the past, but they've asked that we just raise a little bit more awareness about what it is they're trying to do. So it's their Give 5 campaign, and essentially they're asking to add on $5 to your players' registration fees or tryout fees, whatever it is. And that money will go towards supporting the women's national team. What you would receive in return for contributing to the women's national program is some Q&A opportunities with national team athletes when they become available. You'd get to be a part of an exclusive newsletter that would be written by the women's national team players. I believe that's a weekly segment they're trying to do. And there might be some other additional opportunities and promotions that they're going to run through this campaign as they kind of come up with these ideas and continue to build it. So it's just a really good opportunity to stay involved with the game, keep your athletes engaged with what's going on outside of just the club hiatus at this moment, and just really try and stay engaged with the game of volleyball and the athletes who are playing it at this time. So consider taking a look at that. We are waiting on some kind of formal communication around it and some formal promotion, but when that comes available, we will put it all over our website, our social media. So keep your eyes peeled for that kind of stuff.
You want to continue, Adam, on online development opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So just touching on what Grant was talking about, coach and PD opportunities have been a little bit sparse this year, obviously being away from the game of volleyball, but we do update this page on our website quite frequently. So you see John's navigating under our coaching tab. There is a drop-down option, coach/PD opportunities, and we're updating this quite regularly. So there are coaching opportunities, which we try and keep to kind of professional opportunities. UNB's women's volleyball head coaching job is there, various other opportunities. I also want to just point everybody's attention to professional development opportunities. Our Visit Coaching Manitoba events there. So that is actually a hyperlink. It's not just coded blue because of Coaching Manitoba's branding is blue. It actually is a hyperlink, and it will bring you to all of the news and events that Coaching Manitoba is running. And this includes NCCP, non-NCCP courses, and they offer tons of things every month. So these are certain things that you might require for your coaching certification, depending the level that you're coaching this season or coaches in your club might require. So I would just recommend to pop in there frequently just to see what they are offering. They have a pretty up-to-date events calendar, and it is really handy. There's lots of PD opportunities that they offer. And then we also try and provide additional PD opportunities for things outside of what Coaching Manitoba offers. So we see here the Sport Leadership Conference. I believe this is their 4th session coming up on the 18th of February. And we try and keep all that information posted. I believe this session is the Black Coaches experience going on the next leadership. And there's other various PD opportunities that we continue to keep updated. So if you're ever looking for things to keep you busy as a coach or offer additional opportunities for yourself or the coaches in your club, always check in on that tab because we are updating it frequently. There's lots of different things that are going on, and a lot of these things are pretty easy to access in today's world because of the virtual nature of it all. So if you're looking, that's the place to find it all. And that just kind of leads us to our last point, that we just really encourage everybody to just stay engaged with the game of volleyball how you can. So if you've already got your teams pre-selected or they're mostly formed, we encourage you guys to get together via Zoom or whatever it might be, just to stay in touch with your athletes and continue to talk about the game of volleyball and stay in touch with it. We at Volleyball Manitoba are trying to do our part and provide content volleyball related, and especially within our community. So we're trying to start up this I guess series on Instagram called Paving the Way. We're just going to interview a variety of Manitobans, athletes and coaches and things like that over the next little while to just hear about their journey to where they are now. We've recorded one with Michael Clegg that you can view on our Instagram or our YouTube page. We've got one coming up with Darian Koski. Both of those guys are with the National Excellence Program right now in Gatineau. So they're staying busy. They have lots to talk about and a lot of really good, insightful pieces about their journey getting to where they are now. So we just encourage you to try and reach out if you are interested in talking to or getting a hold of, whether it's a professional player or a university player or coach or anything like that. We encourage you to reach out. If you are having trouble or don't know where to go, we can try and kind of lend a hand to connecting you with these people. But yeah, we just want everybody to try and stay engaged with the game of volleyball as best you can right now. We know it's not on court, or if it is, it's going to be kind of one-on-one for the next little while, but there are these opportunities. We just encourage you to seek them out and take advantage of them.
Just a couple other examples. I think Dynamo is going to be doing a session, bringing Michelle Swatsky in with one of their teams just for a little Q&A and opportunity for Michelle to talk a little bit about her journey with volleyball. I know that Kevin and Brandon did something recently with a couple of female coaches with his team on Zoom. I know the U of M is doing one, not to put Lupo on the spot there, but Lupo, they're going to do an open Zoom, get a chance to meet Lupo. So new head coach of U of M, we can promote that and get the word out on that. So there is lots of different opportunities out there. So encourage you to share that with your coaches and with your athletes as well. One of the things that I didn't include a slide for that I just wanted to touch on, and we don't have all the details exactly per se right now, but we did as an organization receive funding through the federal government, through Sport Manitoba. It was called the Federal Emergency Sport Grant. So we had made some applications and we did get some funds. One of the areas that we applied for and want to target some of the funds towards is basically club support. So we know that the costs of operating a club might be a little bit more for each of your teams this year than normal. This isn't a very it's not going to be thousands per team, but could be a few $100s per team. One of the things we just don't know and we can't answer right now is how much it is going to be sort of per team, but it will be delivered once we kind of know how many teams are eventually going to be registering. We'll kind of take a look at that. We'll look at what's left in the fund, and the idea is that these funds will help support your club with various things, such as you need to implement Team Snap for your COVID-related protocols. That comes at a cost. You need to spend some extra time on gyms. You need to buy sanitization equipment. You need to get masks, whatever it might be. These are it's intended to support our sport community in getting back and returning to play. It's not intended just as a blank check towards the club's bank account. So we hope that you would consider using it in those manners. Once we know a little bit more, we'll be communicating to the clubs about a little bit more details. How are we doing for questions and answers right now? Or questions? That's the end of our formal agenda. So I'm going to just open it up right now to, as the guys like to say, the fireside chat, and answer any questions that anybody might have. I'm going to ask a question then, just in general. You guys can type in. You can maybe just mute your mic. But is there, you believe there's a lot of interest from a club level to organize your teams that I obviously might already be pre-selected, pre-signed to do some snow volleyball? Any hands up out there? I know Bandits are already looking at doing something. So we know that that we have one club already interested. I'm trying to determine a little bit on whether this would be more driven from the clubs or driven from if it warms up. Ted, yeah. Good, Donna, yeah. Is that Donna from Pirates? Okay, so some interest anyway, yeah. Good. Out in Deloraine. So, and again, if anyone's interested in knowing a little bit more, I know Jared asked another question there that we'll just, you know, again, just on the tryouts, Jared, obviously right now they can't be run. So, you know, we don't have a plan for that at current time. And we'll continue to evaluate that. We continue to encourage teams to try and implement their programs, you know, without a tryout process. But if that's still a requirement, you know, within your club that you are looking at needing to do it to determine who your players might be or could be, we need to make sure that those events, I'll basically just say maybe reach out to us and we can look at it in terms of the overall general demand or desire for some clubs to still run a tryout process. So we would look at it on a one-off basis right now. Okay. Anthony, anything else to add on that?
Not at the moment, no. I think
okay.
The big thing would be reach out to us and we'll follow up.
Yeah. We'll give it a couple more minutes here, and otherwise I do want to thank everybody again for taking the time. We you know, we will be following up with a little bit more information in the coming days. Might even be as early as tomorrow. So stay tuned on our website, on our social media outlets. Emails will be sent out through the e-news or directly about further developments as it relates to sort of this next reopening, this one-on-one, what it specifically means. You know, it would be good to have a really good idea. If you are looking at returning, please send us a note on that. Anthony will be opening up the registration very soon, as early as tomorrow, as he indicated. So for those teams that are going to start soon, you know, please get your registrations in. We are hopeful and optimistic that, you know, there is going to be a club volleyball season. As you obviously are aware, it's different. It's going to be different. You know, we unfortunately don't have, you know, immense influence within the province to, you know, if it can't be done for hockey, if hockey can't get it done, it's unfortunately the government knows what their priorities are, and they're not going to open up everything at once. So that's just a reality. It's a reality we have to live with. Right now we have a little nibble of getting back indoors and maybe doing some for some that are going to do it a little more outdoors. Let's do that safely when you do get that chance, and good luck with that. So we'll watch for a few more questions here, but you know, for those that are logging off again, thanks again for joining us this evening. Reach out to us with questions directly if you have. Otherwise, hopefully you stay warm over these next few days, and And stay safe, everybody. Not seeing any questions there, Anthony. We'll just stop the recording here, Adam, and we'll see.